Okay, we are back. I'm very happy to have back on the Goldstein on Gelt show Rabbi Berel Wein, an American-born Orthodox rabbi. Now he lives in Israel, and he just came out with a new book about his life and the changes he's witnessed in the Jewish world. The name of the book is called Teach Them Diligently. It's the personal story of a community rabbi, and I have to say I'm a big fan of the book, having heard Rabbi Wein speak about it, and then I went right out and bought it and have read it. Rabbi, real pleasure to have you back on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So tell me about let's say the biggest change you've seen in the religious world since the days when you were a community rabbi and now that you are a Jerusalem-based rabbi.
Well, the biggest change is that the Orthodox community went from self-doubt and a feeling of almost depression that not much could be done in America or in Israel, to a feeling of great self-confidence and almost triumphalism, which has its own dangers.
Tell me about those dangers, because I think we might be witness to some of them.
Well, we feel that the battle has been won, but it really hasn't been won. First of all, we're still a minority of the Jewish people. Observant Jew is not anymore something strange, but he's certainly not representative of the majority of Jews. Secondly, it leads to isolation. We become very smug and self-satisfied, and we really don't care about the others because we feel that we've got enough and we'll be able to handle everything ourselves. And another problem with it is that because of the fact that we feel that we've won, so to speak, so then we're not open to new tactics, innovations, changing circumstances, etc., because we feel that somehow we've recreated a world which I think historically probably never existed in the way that it is fantasized today. So all of that contributes to problems. But I'll tell you in advance that I would rather have those problems than the problems that I faced in the 1950s in Chicago when all the Orthodox synagogues were collapsing and where the children of Orthodox rabbis were attending the Jewish Theological Seminary or even Hebrew Union College, and where there was very little hope for any type of vibrant Jewish life.
So let's talk a little bit more about maybe what's going on today, in fact, specifically about the Jewish world helping others in the world. My day job is that I'm a financial advisor. So one of the things that I look at when I talk to clients is, as part of their budget, is the tzedakah, is the charity that they're giving as part of their overall expense. And there are those people who give a very small amount, but frankly, my experience has been that the people who are the most successful are, in fact, those who are giving 15, 20%, and sometimes even more of what they earn. So I wanted to ask you two questions on this. One is, have you noticed that there seems to be some correlation between those who are incredibly generous and their ongoing financial success? And the second question is a tax question. So let's go with the first one first.
Well, I think that it's almost we have a tradition that if one tithes, then one will be rewarded with wealth. But there's a trap in that, because any time that we do something good and we expect immediately to be repaid or rewarded, so then one opens oneself to disappointments and failures, etc. In my rabbinic experience, I've known a great many wealthy people who have given a great deal of money to charity. But I've also known a great many people of moderate means who, in their own respect, have also given a great deal of money to charity. I don't notice the correlation between wealth and between charitable giving. There are many wealthy people who are misers, and there are many more poor people who are also by nature misers. So I think it has to do with the personality more than with their financial abilities. The point about taxes is obvious, that if a person is wealthy and he can reduce his income tax by giving charity, so then that is an added incentive to give charity. And many times it is a very important incentive.
We're talking with Rabbi Berel Wein, who just came out with a new book, rather an autobiography, I'd say, although I think he himself says it's not complete. We were talking for a minute about the charitable aspects of being religious, and I'd like to just dig into that a little more. Maybe it's more of a halacha question, but I bet you've been faced with many of those in your life. And again, it's something that occurs to me, or that happens to me in my office, is that clients who invest either in stocks or bonds, either they're going to make some profits and capital gains or interest and dividends, and frankly, they say it's very difficult for them to calculate how much they should be giving halachically on this kind of passive income compared to when they get a job and a paycheck and they know what they've got and they can give their tzedakah based on that.
Yeah,
and then sometimes they say, it's so complicated, it must be that God didn't invest in stocks and bonds himself, so maybe it's not relevant to me. How does that work?
Well, it is relevant, but on each and every individual case, you have to deal with your rabbi and get his opinion, etc., whether or not you have to give on, so to speak, on paper profits or only on realized profits, how you measure that. It's a complex subject, charitable giving. It isn't just
we're not going to cover it.
The cuff. And right, and it's not for this conversation. But the people should realize that somehow it's not a simple matter. It requires good common sense, judgment, and halachic input, which one can gain from one's local rabbi, hopefully.
Okay, so let's focus a little bit on one of the messages in your book, which in many ways, and certainly hearing you talk, is that you seem to be very optimistic about where we are today. And even in the beginning of our conversation today, I got that feeling. On the other hand, I get the sense that this generation, let's say, is very much more I-centric. It's all about me. It's about my iPhone, my iPad. How does that jive with the message of Judaism? Because if we're trying to be the light unto the nations, it's not the feeling that I get that that's what we're supposed to be spreading.
Well, the truth of the matter is that we're supposed to be the children of Abraham, right? He's the father of all nations. He's hospitality to all. He's charity to all. He's open to all. Even to people who are not nice people. He nevertheless, and we're supposed to be his, not only his children and his heirs, biologically and mentally and spiritually, but we're supposed to try and emulate him. And so, again, the point that you make is very valid. We live in a generation of affluence, and people in affluence find it hard to realize that there are people who are not affluent. And people of affluence find it hard to somehow sympathize even with people who are not affluent. And that I think that's a psychological barrier. If I can do this and this, and I have enough, and so then what are you coming? Why don't you go out and do it? And that becomes a way of life almost to people.
Well, certainly, as you describe in the book, you had your ups and downs too.
Oh yeah, well, life is ups and downs. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to a message I wanted to get across. This is not a hagiographic book. This is not a book about everything is wonderful and never have doubts and never have problems. That doesn't exist in life. And I think that a great disservice is often done to great people when their lives, so to speak, are prettied up in books and stories, and they, are never has heard a discouraging word. That's not life. Life is tough, and many times it's like a sukkah. There's more shadow than sun, and we have to be able to deal with it. We have to recognize it, and not be blown away by it. Right? I think that I have tried in the book to show that there were many issues and many problems, and it wasn't, just the great Rabbi Wein going through life and everybody loving him.
Yeah, I didn't get the impression that the book was really meant to be as much of an autobiography telling your story as trying to leave a message. And in fact, I think you said that your goal was, because your grandkids had said, tell us the stories and write them down so we'll remember them.
Right.
Was there one main message that you'd like people to get out of the book?
Well, the main message that I feel is that what are we going to do for the Jewish people? What are we going to do to build Torah? What are we going to do to build eternity? How do we see ourselves in the big picture, not just in the small picture? And I think that if people see themselves in the bigger picture, and they see themselves in the light of history and the challenges that we have faced today, etc., and what I have to do to meet those challenges, then that pretty much is a successful life, even if there are problems that are involved.
All right, I think that people will certainly get that message. Rabbi Wein, we are just about out of time, but in the last few seconds, tell us, how can people follow your work and get hold of the book?
I have a website, rabbiwein.com, which has a lot of material, and that's my Destiny Foundation, which is engaged in educational projects all over the world. So I would recommend people to go to that site, and if people want to buy the book, my grandchildren will certainly appreciate it, and they can do so through Corin Publishing or your local bookshop, or you can order it on my website, again, at rabbiwein.com.
Okay, and we will put a link to that at the website at the show notes at the website of goldsteinongelt.com, so it makes it easy for people to find. Rabbi Berel Wein, thank you very, very much for your time.
Thank you, and a good year to everyone.
You've been listening to the Goldstein on Gelt Show with money maven Doug Goldstein. Doug's weekly radio show is heard around the world, but if you miss it, you can download the podcast at www.goldsteinongelt.com. The Goldstein on Gelt Show gives you up-to-date financial ideas so you can get on the path to financial freedom. If you'd like your questions answered on the air or off, send Doug an email to doug@profile-financial.com. It's your money for your future, so join Doug every week to build your wealth on the Goldstein on Gelt Show.